So we're setting off this morning, leaving La Palma, Santa Cruz de La Palma, and we're heading towards La Gomera to Valle Gran Rey. It's about 40 miles, 40 miles away. So it'll take us till late this afternoon to get there. If you're in this part of the world, it's definitely worth a visit. You need a car when you get here because everywhere out of here is vertical. We hired a car for 3 days and I don't think we got it out of second gear once. So yeah, and for all you American friends out there, yeah, you're going to have to learn to drive a stick shift here. But it's a glorious day. If you spin round and show you what the sea's looking like out there. 14 days we've been here, a bit longer than we really anticipated. The weather held us up a little bit, but now we're heading south. We arrived here just before sunset last night at Valle Gran Rey in La Gomera. It's an anchorage, and it's only an anchorage, and you have to stay out of the port area because of all the ferries. Our friends in the catamaran, Sue and Phil, turned up just behind us, and in the process of them anchoring, something went wrong with the windlass. The chain jumped out of the gypsy and all the chain paid out. It ripped out the bitter end from the boat and they lost all their chain and anchor overboard just as it was getting dark. Phil's a really keen diver, lots of dive gear on board, but by the time he got everything sorted, they just couldn't find the chain. Luckily he had a spare anchor and we managed to anchor them out the way of the ferries and everything. So this morning, what is it, we've been going for 3 hours now. We set off in a dinghy. I had a GPS position roughly where we were anchored when they first came in, and we used that position as a starting point for our search. Unfortunately, it was in like 15-16 meters of water, so the visibility was really bad. But after about 3/4 of an hour of the girls swimming up and down past the dinghy and me gradually letting the dinghy out on a line so that we were doing like a pattern search, they found it. We dropped the dinghy anchor on top of the end of the chain, and by this time Phil had got all his dive gear all sorted, ready to go, and we got it up and we've just recovered everything. Valle Gran Rey, beautiful, beautiful little town. It's only a little village type town, it's not a very big town, but we went out and had a lovely meal there last night. But it is rolling. No, I got to tell you, it is really rolling. It's the second time I've been here, and I remember the last time, after a couple of days, I just got fed up with rolling and rolling, and I left. So we've decided that we're going to head across to El Hierro. The forecast is good. We've got very light winds from the northwest, and so we should be able to probably get a bit of a sail. But it's 36 miles across, and we said, look, you know, if all else fails, we just motor across. We're going to arrive there just after dark. We should get a decent night's kit in a non-rolly anchorage, which for us will be the first time that we'll have spent a night without rolling since we left Arrecife 4 or 5 weeks ago. As we go into the night, well, we hope to be in La Restinga by sometime around midnight, I suppose. Doesn't really bother me. I've been in there before. The port is fairly well lit inside, and it's a fairly simple port as well. Whether we'll get on a pontoon or not straight away, we might have to tie up against the wall. We will see. It will be interesting. Well, good morning. Beautiful day here. Arrived late last night in La Restinga on El Hierro and tied up against the wall. And this morning we've got to go and see the port captain and make sure this is where he wants us to stay. The finger berths here not fantastically big, so perhaps we'll be ending up staying against the wall. Very interesting place for me. I was last here in 2011, in October 2011, and promptly got told when I arrived that they were expecting a volcanic eruption any day. And it got very interesting. A place was full of world media. There was people rushing around and all sorts of things going on. And I eventually left, and 2 days after I left, volcano erupted, and there was another Canary Island just outside the entrance to the harbour. I think most of it's disappeared, but it's going to be interesting to see if there are any remains of that. This is a very, very big dive centre, and speaking to the divers at the time, they were really worried because the prediction was that the sulfuric gases and effluent from the volcano would destroy all the reef life. And I think they had to work very hard for a year, but from what I've heard, they've got it back. And already this morning we've seen dive boats going out full of divers. And apparently it's one of the best dive sites in the world. So if you're into diving, put it on your to-do list. Come to Larastinga on El Hierro.
I think he says they only lock it at night time, but
This is a really nice town, isn't it?
it's lovely.
So things definitely improved since I was here last. Used to be just a couple of little shops here, and provisioning was quite difficult, to say the least. Now we have two supermarkets, this brand new one. And there's one of the staff is welcoming everybody on YouTube. Hello. And this looks like a really well-stocked supermarket, so we'll be definitely using this. Diving really is something here, and I mean, there's a dive shop just over there, and then as we come round here, I guess that's a dive shop. Most people we're finding really friendly, but that fish definitely looks like it's got a bit of attitude. So we've got on the bus. We are apparently going to the Valley of the Green.
Yes, Green Valley.
Green Valley.
Little, I think, countryside farming local products museum.
You can see here on one of the plates there's a picture of the famous giant lizards that El Hierro is famous for. We're looking forward to trying to get to see them sometime in the coming week. So,
Okay, this one's first.
Hay un pequeño vídeo,
Oh,
dura
okay.
5 minutos.
Okay, 5 minutes worth.
so we've just learned a little bit from a video about the life here in El Hierro. One of the things that's come across is that the place is very, very isolated, still fairly isolated today, with only small ferries and small aircraft able to get to the island. This produced a culture of craftsmen and women producing everything they needed with materials that were available locally. We're now going to go through the museum and see some of the items that they've actually produced for their daily way of life. This is one of the typical drums that they made, used in their fiestas. And very distinctive sound. So the materials used for construction would have been natural stone lava rock, which is available in abundance here. And as we've seen with most of the other Canary Islands we've been in, they use an awful lot of timber for their doors and windows. Very ornate, beautiful joinery. So the first room that we're in is a reconstruction of one of their forges or smithies. And here we can see the large bellows and their
It was a monster bellows.
their typical forge, and we notice that again using natural lava rock for their forge. So El Hierro in Spanish translates to the island of iron, and obviously a lot of iron deposits must be available, and they were able to use those to their advantage for their local tools. And as we were shown on the video, the other very important item would have been the loom for producing hand-woven goods for everything from their everyday work clothes to their bedspreads and tablecloths, etc.
How do you like this for an automatic washing machine then? I think I'll stick with my own.
Some of the handmade tools that they would have used in their weaving. You can see there cards for carding the wool. Once again we see fabulous wooden constructions that we've seen in La Palma, and now we see here. Some of the hand-woven woolen blankets that they would have used, and bed sheets. And there we have one of their original rucksacks. Obviously these sacks used to carry produce from the fields, just everyday use. Some of their traditional clothing.
Especially the hats are a bit remarkable.
This pointed hat, yes, it's quite interesting. Well, we've had a lovely lunch and we're just wandering around the town, and we've come across this little square that they've covered in, and we'd seen a lot of posters for this, and there's going to be some sort of festival here this evening. Unfortunately we won't be around, so we won't catch it all, but they're getting ready for it now.
Well, it's on for a week.
Oh, it's on for all the week, is it?
Yeah,
well, we
different
might
things each night, so we might catch some of it.
We might catch some of it, get back for some of it. We come to the northwest corner of El Hiral to these natural pools, and today they're really quite dramatic. I don't think anybody's really wanted to go in swimming.
All got to be in. Yeah. Casual.
Interesting, and notice at the top of the path down to these pools said that you have to be very cautious of big waves coming in, and we've got quite a massive swell today working its way in, as you can see. But the swimming area in front of me here, still pretty calm. It's just not a very nice day today. Massive swell working its way in just here. to the camera. Oh, I hope you could hear me this morning all right, and the wind noise isn't too much. It's really got windy here. We've come down to the giant lizard centre to have a look round on the west side of El Hierro, and we've actually come down right down into the bottom of the caldera, and it's blowing like crazy. A lot of katabatic wind coming down the hillside, I think. So we're going to have a quick look round here and try and show you a bit of the west side of El Hierro, which appears to be totally different.
There's three things to see on this site. The lizards, which are all in some kind of a building. There's a little village of ancient houses built by like dry stone walling, and there's a volcano tube thing. But because it's a very windy day, the village is closed because it might be a bit dangerous. And she doesn't know how much lizards we're going to see today, because when it's a really wild day they tend to hide even more. So you pays your money and you takes your chances.
A raíz del 2007, que hubo unas lluvias torrenciales muy grandes, estamos acostumbrados a que podemos mover los huevos de gallina y no se estropean de ninguna manera.
Oh, still very windy up here, but these are the spectacular views. And that's where we just were. That's where the giant lizard centre is, down there. Don't know whether you can hear me over the wind noise, but it's absolutely amazing. It's a shame it's not that clear today. This is the view from inside the restaurant. So, we're going to sing Happy Birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Susie. Happy birthday to you.
Yay!
21 again.
Exactly, every year. For the last.
Right, so we've decided we're just going to have a coffee here.
Yeah.
There could be a good reason for that.
We don't want another. We're at Charco Azul,
Which are?
which are another rock pool swimming place, which is supposed to have beautiful underwater blue caves.
As you can see, the colour of the water is a beautiful turquoise blue, and it really is that colour. So we should have left Monday for the 750-mile journey to Mindelo, down in the Cape Verde Islands, from here in La Restinga on El Hierro. But we looked at the forecast, and there were lots of boats left over the weekend. And it was a gorgeous day, it was a beautiful weekend, and it had been a great week leading up to it. Very little wind, very little sea state. We decided that we'd look a little bit further on into the forecast, and by today, Wednesday, the wind hadn't got up tremendously. It's blowing about a force 6 from the northeast. But the big problem is that the sea, the current and the waves, is coming almost directly opposite from the just south of west, and the result is, well, we're going to show you what the result is, and you can see whether you'd like to be out there or not.
300 miles into our trip right now.
Yeah, that would be right. We would be at this moment in time some 300 miles into the trip, and knowing that we have another 450 miles to go, probably 300 miles of that in the same sort of conditions, because this system is due to last until, well, for another 4 or 5 days. So we're looking at leaving when it's all died down. Thanks for watching this episode of our trip to Brazil and beyond. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps us to produce these videos, and if you subscribe, also click the little bell icon. That way you'll get a notification of our next video in this series.